Tonight, Penn State takes on Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. And tomorrow, Ohio State plays Texas in the Cotton Bowl. Two Big Ten teams, college football playoffs, do or die time. We'll tell you what you need to know right here on Locked On Big Ten.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that subscribe button down below while you're watching here as well. Today, we are brought to you by FanDuel. For big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com and get started. So, time for the Big Ten to shine on the big stage here. We got a piece of both games the next 2 days. We'll take a final look at the Nittany Lions and the Buckeyes, and we'll have our Big Ten classics as we look ahead to the weekend. And a quick reminder, join us for a special live Locked On Big Ten tonight, right here, right after the Penn State game. And again, tomorrow night, right after the Ohio State game. Join us live. Those are always fun, immediate reaction and interaction between you and me. I love it. Let's start with Penn State. We'll get to the Buckeyes in just a minute. The winner of these two games tonight and tomorrow are going to play January 20th for the national championship. Penn State got here by dominating a surprising SMU team and strangling Boise State's running attack in the Fiesta Bowl. Very prolific running attack until they faced Penn State. Notre Dame, of course, jumped on Indiana and they beat Georgia in a defensive battle in the Sugar Bowl. Both teams converging now on Hard Rock Stadium, and the Fighting Irish are 1.5 to 2.5 point favorites, depending on where you're looking. That boggles my mind, by the way. I think Penn State should be favored in this game. Penn State brings one of the nation's top defenses in the game, and just like I told you 2 weeks ago going into the Boise game, I said Penn State in that game had one job. That was to shut down Ashton Jeanty, and they would win, and they did. That's exactly what they did. I held them to 100 yards. He usually gets like 200 yards. So now the Nittany Lions have one job tonight. It's that simple again. You got to contain quarterback Riley Leonard. Got to contain him. Look, he's not the best passer in the world, and he's not the best runner in the world, but he does both just well enough to keep you on your toes. He's a modest dual threat quarterback. And then they rely on their defense. And both defenses are good. I'll get to that in a minute. But if you need proof of what I'm talking about with Leonard versus Georgia, he passed for 90 yards and he ran for 80. It's not a big deal. Combined and just at the right time and keeping the chains moving, it was pretty effective. The numbers don't blow you away, but they win football games doing that. And just does enough to keep the chains moving, first down, keep drives going. Meanwhile, Drew Allar, quarterback of Penn State, one word comes to mind when I watch him, and that's efficiency, right? He's never going to throw for 400 yards, but he doesn't turn the ball over, like almost never turns the ball over. And he keeps the Penn State offense on schedule. And he has some weapons he can rely on at running back. He's got Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. So you everydayers out there know that I also think that when I talk about Penn State and I talk about their tight end, Ty Warren, I'm a big Ty Warren fan. Notre Dame doesn't have a weapon like him. You add that up all together, and that's why I can't figure out why Notre Dame's been the favorite in this game. I think Penn State's the favorite. That's the way to go. So bet against Notre Dame. And again, Penn State's got the better quarterback. Penn State has two, not one, premier running back. They got the better tight end. And, Notre Dame has good run. They got Jeremiah Love, a running back, re-aggravated his knee. Now he says he's good to go. But a little tweak here and there, I don't know. That's one of the strengths of Penn State. If one guy gets dinged, the other guy's there, but they're usually both pretty healthy. And they both go on a nice 1-2 punch. But, Love re-aggravated a knee injury in the Georgia game, but he says he's fine for Notre Dame. We'll see. I think Penn State's defense is better than Notre Dame's defense. And by the way, I'm not knocking Notre Dame's defense. They're good too. They're both two good defenses here. Might lean toward taking the under on this one. In fact, the Irish defense had 28 turnovers this year. That's noteworthy. That's noteworthy. But as I mentioned, something's going to have to give because Penn State does not turn the ball over. Notre Dame lives on forcing the turnover, and Penn State does not turn the ball over. Something's got to give in this game. Meanwhile, all Penn State's eyes are on pass rusher Abdul Carter, who hurt his arm against Boise State, and he did not return to that game. But he looked again every day. There's another report. Yeah, it looks like he's going to play. So he'll suit up. They do have a fifth-year senior backup, Amon Vanover, in case he can't go. But Carter would be a big loss. But I think Carter's going to play tonight. Everything I've heard, he's going to play tonight. There were other injury updates we were keeping an eye on as well. Jalen Reed and Danny Dennis Sutton, they were both practicing this week because they had been dinged up previously, but they're good. Everything's good. Everything's looking good for Penn State in this game. A couple other interesting things that I'm taking a note of. First of all, you want to look back at this season, look at the schedules, both of these teams. I think it's interesting. Notre Dame, they seem to put that embarrassing home loss to Northern Illinois in the rearview mirror. In fact, Notre Dame fan watching right now is probably mad I'm even bringing it up. It was so long ago. They do have 3 ranked wins against Louisville, Army, and Navy. Certainly teams that were not at the top of the top 25. And, of course, their playoff wins as well. Now, Penn State has a couple of losses. Ohio State and Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. Arguably, probably, those are the highest quality losses on anybody's schedule this season. But they can hang with anybody, is what we're trying to say here. And then one other item to note, remember, because Penn State, they played on New Year's Eve. And then Notre Dame's January 1 game versus Georgia was pushed to the 2nd because of the tragedy in New Orleans. And so Penn State now has had 2 extra days to rest and prep for this game. But I'm not going to use that as any kind of excuse for anybody because at the end of the day, even though Penn State's had more time than Notre Dame to get ready for this, Notre Dame still has had a full 7-day week to get ready for this game, just like any other week in the season. So I don't think they're at that much of a disadvantage. I don't think anybody should make any hill of beans about that for sure. Finally, there is the historical element to this game. And I imagine the broadcast will bring it up tonight, but a black head coach has never won a national championship. So no matter who wins this game tonight, whether it's James Franklin or Marcus Freeman, one of them's going to go to a national championship and at least have a chance to write some history about that. I guarantee you they'll ask about it and make it a segment on the TV broadcast tonight. And of course, that national championship will be January 20th, which I believe is Martin Luther King Day. Also, again, don't forget, in addition to our regular Locked On Big Ten podcast this week, going to go live, Big Ten, Locked On Big Ten YouTube channel, immediately following both semifinal games. Mark your calendars, write it down, remember it. Hey, as soon as that game's over, oh yeah, Craig's going live on Locked On Big Ten. Let's go check it out. Let's go give our comments. He'll give us his. That's how that works. It's a lot of fun. So again, that's both Thursday night tonight and Friday night after each of the games. I'm thinking those games will end around 10:45 Eastern, 7:45 Pacific. So I'm thinking pretty close to around just before 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. Locked On Big Ten live. Don't miss it. All right. Also, while you're here, be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And if you don't mind, share, like, and follow. All that stuff as a big help to us, and it keeps you and me together in the loop. Also, don't forget to pick up some Big Ten gear from your favorite Big Ten school at our website, talkbig10.com. That's the number 10, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts are there. You can go back, check out. We did a great piece on Oregon earlier this week and kind of a post-season autopsy on that moving forward. That was a very good podcast. Go check that out. That's on there. And then you can also find links to buy merchandise from your favorite school if you want. All right. So we've talked a lot about Penn State and their game. All right. And we got another Big Ten team in action Friday. It is the red-hot Ohio State Buckeyes. They seem unbeatable right now. last-minute prep for the Longhorns. Let you know what you need to know about that. I'll bet the Longhorns are not getting a lot of sleep this week thinking about the Buckeyes. We got all that, plus Big Ten Classics on the way right here on Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. Rocket Money. They can help you find all these subscriptions you may have, because we all have subscriptions, a few bucks here a month, a few bucks there. It starts to add up. Sometimes you lose track of it. Sometimes you don't use those anymore and you forget about them, but you still get charged. It's happened to a lot of people. You can track them all down with Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings, brings everything together in one place. So go check it out. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. So check it out. You can cancel your unwanted subscriptions, reach your financial goals, all with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Thank you very much. And make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't yet. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. So, Penn State tonight. Tomorrow night, the red-hot Ohio State Buckeyes. They take on the Texas Longhorns in the Cotton Bowl. Longhorns, they got to the Final Four last year. They have some unfinished business. The Buckeyes have played better than anybody in the country their last couple games. No question. Again, we're going live after that game, too, here on Locked On Big Ten. The Longhorns, I think they got to be seeing visions of Jeremiah Smith in their sleep right now. They got to be panicked about this guy. Especially as he has stepped up his game several notches in the Buckeyes playoff run with really easy wins over Tennessee and Big Ten champion Oregon. You want some stats in those two games? He hauled in 13 catches for 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. They're all long touchdowns as well. Quarterback Will Howard, in 4 years, I talked about this so much coming into the season. I admit when I was skeptical and when I was wrong. His 4 years at Kansas State, he was a 59% passer. He just did not complete passes. It was not accurate. And it was every year. Then he comes to Ohio State. He and Chip Kelly they've connected. And he's no longer a 59% passer. He's a 72% passer. That's good. That's NFL good. So if Texas thinks they're just going to drop a player or two out of the box and cover Jeremiah Smith or Emeka Egbuka, for that matter, then good luck, because then they can go to the running back punch with Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. There's too many weapons. And Texas has a good defense. They have a good defense, a good secondary. I get it. There's so many weapons for Ohio State right now. Plus the Buckeyes offensive line, they seem to have figured things out with all those injuries earlier in the season. They've been playing well the last 2 games. Nothing's stopping them. Now, that might not be the case for the Texas Longhorns, by the way. One of their best linemen, Cam Williams. He's got a sprained knee, still questionable for the game. Too bad for them, because the Buckeyes defensive line has been playing his best football of the year in the last 2 games. And I could say this about everything. I'm talking about the Buckeyes offense, defense, defensive line, secondary. I can follow it up with they've been playing the best they've been playing all season long, the last 2 games in the postseason. So, and then don't forget, if this pass rush of the Buckeyes is able to get into the backfield, Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers, look, he's a good passer. Not the most mobile quarterback out there. So I think if they get there, they can get him. They can rush the 4 guys and get them. That's going to be a problem for the Texas Longhorns. Ohio State's about a 5.5-point favorite in this game. But I think if they keep playing like they've been playing, it's going to be, they're going to cover. It's going to be a bigger number. It really is. If they play like they've been playing against Texas and Oregon, look out. There's nothing can stop that. No, if they play that, nothing can. The only thing that could stop Ohio State is Ohio State, in my opinion, right now. So look for a big winning margin if they continue to keep on rolling, get off to a good start, and don't look back and just keep going. By the way, in a way, weather may be a factor leading up to this game, sort of. The game's indoors, okay, at AT&T Stadium. But weather may be disruptive for travel and for the teams and for the fans and everybody converging there in Texas for this game. Temperatures are supposed to drop below freezing throughout most of Texas this week. A lot of crazy weather across the country this week. This is part of it. And they're actually expecting measurable snow in the Dallas-Fort Worth area through Friday. So, look, they've had Super Bowls there on. In fact, they had a Super Bowl. It's probably been about probably about 12 years ago. They had a big ice storm. They still played the Super Bowl. They didn't move it. It can happen. I know that because I was supposed to go. My flight was canceled. I was going to that Super Bowl from Houston to Dallas, and I was on my way to the airport a couple days before the Super Bowl, and my flight got canceled because it couldn't land in Dallas because of all the ice, and it ruined all my plans. How about that? So similar kind of stuff going on in the Dallas area this week. In fact, the Cotton Bowl has issued a statement about all this. So they're telling everybody we're keeping an eye on it, keeping an eye on the situation. And they do say they have plans for inclement weather. I don't think that means moving the game or anything like that, but you never know. You never know. Meanwhile, tonight, Thursday night, we got some Big Ten hoops to keep an eye on. Speaking of Ohio State, number 15 Oregon is at Ohio State, 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific on the Big Ten Network. That's right. If you want to watch some Oregon basketball on the West Coast today, it's early. It'll be 3 o'clock. Meanwhile, number 20 Purdue is at Rutgers. That is also at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 Pacific. That is on FS1. Washington is at 16th ranked Michigan State. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific on the Big Ten Network. And some women's hoops as well. We got Oregon at Penn State. That's 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. That's on Big Ten Plus. And number 23, Iowa. The ladies taking on Illinois at Illinois, 7 o'clock Eastern, Big Ten Plus. So anyway, that's the schedule for some hoops. Wanted to squeeze that in. We're big fans of the hoops. But back to the football games. Would love to hear your comments on Penn State. I think Penn State's offense is more dynamic than Notre Dame, and I'm surprised that Penn State is the underdog there. That'll usually upset a few Notre Dame fans. They'll hit me up in the comments. Penn State, where are you? Let's get your comments going. And the Ohio State Buckeyes, again, if they continue to be that buzzsaw, there's nothing that's going to stop them. I expect them to win. I'm saying it. I'm saying it right now. All Big Ten final. Oh, how awesome would that be? Penn State and Ohio State national championship. Calling it right now. See, doing my pigskin picks a day early for you right there. All right. Love your comments on it. Hit us up on that on YouTube as well. We always do features at the end of our podcast where we, on Thursdays, we look ahead to Big Ten Network programming and what they're carrying, Big Ten Classics, live action, all that. We'll have that. By the way, if you're new, we always have a feature on the end of the podcast. Mondays, my top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. I'll have plenty of those on Monday. And also Tuesday, we do Tuesday tweets. Follow us on Twitter, X, at Talk Big Ten. Wednesday, we do Power Rankings. Thursday, the Big Ten Network, Big Ten Classics. And Friday, we usually do some sort of pick'ems, pigskin picks or basketball picks. All right, so we'll take a look at Big Ten Classics and live action coming up this weekend on the Big Ten Network. All that in just a minute right here on Locked on Big Ten. Time for our Big Ten Classic segment for the Big Ten Network this weekend. I'm going to put them on screen. If you're on audio only, we'll describe it in detail so you don't feel left out. But we don't put everything. This is just some things that have grabbed our attention, and we think they are noteworthy. And we'll pick it up Friday, January 10th. These are all Eastern times. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern, they got one of their Big Ten football in 60s where they edit just from snap to snap to snap. So it's nothing but plays. The whole highlights or plays, however you want to call them. Replay of the Rose Bowl. Oregon fans, you might want to sit this one out. Ohio State, obviously, this is just one from a couple of days ago. 6 o'clock Eastern. They got some Big Ten wrestling on Friday night. Maryland is at Michigan, and at 8 o'clock Eastern, more wrestling. Michigan State at Penn State. Maybe people outside of Penn State don't know. Penn State wrestling is a humongous, big deal. Big deal. They're going to air it there on the Big Ten Network. All right. On Saturday, let's look ahead, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Big Ten Live. It's their basketball tip-off show with news and updates and live campus look-ins before the games. And then their slate is as thus. I've picked a few things. At noon Eastern, men's basketball. USC is at Illinois. Then at 2:30, we've got women's basketball, Maryland at Wisconsin. And at 6:30 Eastern, we got men's ice hockey, Minnesota at Ohio State. And then we move on to Sunday. Got a pretty busy day on Sunday. They start things off on the Big Ten Network, 11:30 Eastern. Big Ten Live, their basketball tip-off show again. They do it Saturday and Sunday. More live look-ins and team updates and breakdowns and analysis and all that stuff. And then they go into the games. 12 noon, men's basketball. Nebraska is at Purdue. I think that could be a pretty good game. I told you last week, Nebraska at home is just crazy insane. This is becoming like the new best home court advantage in basketball. But this one is at another place, at Purdue. This is at Purdue. Purdue at home, crazy. Absolutely crazy. We got Washington at Michigan. No, not a rematch of last year's national championship. This is basketball. Men's basketball, 2 o'clock Eastern. So check that out. Then at 4 o'clock, more men's basketball. Oregon at Penn State. That's a long trip. Long trip for Oregon. And then 8 o'clock, we got some women's basketball where Penn State, speaking of a long trip, they get to go to the West Coast and take on USC. No word yet on any of these events, USC, that I'm thinking about these wildfires that are going on out there. Something to keep an eye on. And like I know even on the NFL, they got the Rams game Monday night at SoFi. That's open air-ish, sort of. They got the opaque roof, but it's open. There's smoke in the area Monday night for that Rams game against the Vikings. That could very well be moved because that's some serious stuff going on. And then the Chargers, I think they changed their entire schedule practice-wise to get out of town early to take on the Texans. So serious situation in Southern California. Thoughts and prayers to everybody out there. I used to live in Los Angeles, so it's bad. I've done wildfires and earthquakes out there. I've done hurricanes here on the East Coast. It's just done it all, and it's very nerve-wracking. So anyway, you get to take your mind off some of this stuff with entertainment, news, and sports like this. So kind of lighten the day a little bit. Many ways for you to interact with me if you want. Twitter, X, at Talk Big Ten, website, talkbig10.com. Be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app and to get the latest episode of Lockdown Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. One more reminder. Tonight, we're back on here live. Get ready for it. Look for it. Live, Lockdown Big Ten on YouTube. As soon as, I don't say the final whistle, but when the game ends and they do that last little post-game interview with the winning coach or player, boom, that's when we go live. Probably going to be close to 11 o'clock Eastern tonight. And we'll do it again tomorrow after the Ohio State game. All right? Looking forward to seeing it. The next 2 podcasts are going to be live. Love it. Thanks for joining us now. Looking forward to you joining us back then. Coming up here tonight and tomorrow night as well. All right, that's it. Thanks for joining us. I'm Craig Sheeman for Lockdown Big Ten. And hey, we'll talk to you tonight.